Welcome to a special bonus episode of Buckeyes Tomorrow Morning. You don't get a date, you don't get a countdown. You'll get that on the official episode for today. This one is one of those, yeah, man, there's too much stuff going on this week episodes where we do 7 shows a week, and sometimes there is just too much to talk about. This is one of those weeks with the Buckeyes heading up to Madison. Also a little bit of stuff going on in the Michigan world you may be aware of. Today, though, we got to talk recruiting because we have not had Marc Givler from Buckeye Huddle on in a little while, and man, oh man, was it a busy recruiting weekend last weekend with Penn State in town. Got to talk about some 5-star visitors, the guys who may be potentially joining Ohio State's class at some point, some in-state visitors of note who we've seen enough times that it's like, feels like there's probably a little bit of smoke there as well. So we're going to talk about all that stuff with Marc today. Marc, we got to start. What is the rule in recruiting? You got to start with the 5-star. All right, we're going to start with the 5-star. Devin Sanchez, 5-star cornerback out of Texas. He is someone who we have seen at Ohio State camps before, I believe, but he was also there last weekend for the Penn State game. Obviously, someone Ohio State would love to add to their 2025 recruiting class. What have you heard on Devin Sanchez?
Yeah, home run visit. Had a chance to talk briefly with some people there, and hopefully have more a fuller update to read on the website here in the next day or two. But killed the visit. This was a visit they've been up here a few times already. The family has, and with Devin, and coming in, it felt like kind of Ohio State was maybe starting to emerge ahead of A&M and Alabama. And I think those are the top 3 right now. And I think they've enhanced that to the point where I think they're definitely in the driver's seat. Look, he's been up 3 or 4 times now. He's made multiple visits. He's said all the right things. I don't think this could have timed better for Ohio State in that you have Denzel Burke out. And so Jermaine Matthews goes out there as a true freshman and has a great game. And now they get to go back. They've been telling Devin this already because it's true. They're playing young guys in the secondary. Like if you're ready to go, they're going to play you. We've seen Malik Hartford get a start this year and play. We've seen Jermaine Matthews now play a bunch. So they're selling this idea that like, look, we'll play the young guys if they're ready. They're going to turn over a lot of the secondary by the time Devin gets on campus. He's got a great relationship with Tim Walton. Everyone's comfortable with the school, the campus, the coaches. I think Ohio State is in a very, very strong position right now. I think it's going to take a lot for them to lose this one now. I think they're going to get Devin Sanchez at some point.
Yeah, it feels like last year there was a little bit of a wait and see with some of the defensive recruits. They loaded up the offensive side of the class very early, and the defensive side of the class was sort of a, wait and see. You get the new system, you get the new coordinator, all that kind of stuff, some new position coaches. It's somewhat the case this year as well, but it feels like you're seeing more and more of that proof of concept with the Jim Knowles defense and Tim Walton and Perry Eliano working on the back end and all of that stuff. So might see some of this, might see business pick up a little bit on the defensive side of the recruiting class. Another guy on the defensive side of the recruiting class who could be part of that business picking up is Amaris Williams, 2024 defensive lineman. He is committed to Florida right now. He is out in North Carolina, but he is the kind of committed to Florida where he also visited Ohio State last weekend. So what is the likelihood looking for a flip there for the Buckeyes?
I predicted before the weekend and kind of my preview that I thought they would ultimately flip Amaris Williams. I still think they're going to. I think the visit went very well. Again, they're going to turn over a lot of this defensive line probably after this season. And they're able to really tell people like, hey, there's real opportunities here to play early along the defensive line. And, we'll see how things go with Florida the next couple of weeks, but that's been on shaky ground for a while. Things have moved very quickly with Ohio State since they offered him at the beginning of October. I know Larry Johnson has made a big impression. And, it's not a geography battle. He's from North Carolina, so, we're talking very similar distances at this point. Nothing, not a Florida kid they're trying to pull away from the in-state school. He may take another visit or two in the next couple of weeks, but I think Ohio State's probably the betting favorite right now, and I would still say that if I had to guess right now, he's going to end up in the class.
All right, now let's move on to a Florida kid from Florida that they are trying to pull away from the in-state schools. That is Elijah Melendez, 2025 linebacker out of Kissimmee, Florida. Kissimmee? Is it Kissimmee, I think, Florida. Osceola High School. Yeah, lots of fun names to say down there. 2025 linebacker, has a Florida offer, has a Florida State offer, has a Miami offer, also has an Alabama offer, Michigan offer. You look at the offer list, that he is a 4-star prospect, and the offer list looks every bit like a high-level 4-star prospect. He was someone who you had intel on our board over the weekend. It feels like of all of these, this one might be one where Ohio State's feeling maybe the best of the guys we're talking about so far. Is that right?
I think they feel pretty good about Sanchez right now, but yeah, Melendez, I think, is a guy that they do feel very good about right now. I talked to Elijah at length Saturday, not too long after the game, and just incredibly enthusiastic about his visit. Here's the thing that I think is going to help Ohio State. So he was born in Indiana, so he grew up a little bit in Indiana. I think spent like his first 10, 11 years in Indiana. Spent like a little bit of time in Colorado, and then eventually made his way to Orlando, I think like freshman year of high school. So this is not your classic Florida kid. So that's going to help them. He's got ties to the Midwest. He's been around. I don't think there's anything that's specifically going to keep him in the state of Florida. Loves Ohio State. One of the fastest rising junior linebackers in the country right now. I know he's like a composite 4-star, but there are some of the more updated rankings. As sites have updated their rankings, I think have him around like 50th in the country. So I think there's one. I forget which site. Someone's got him like a high 3, which I think is kind of bringing his composite down right now. This is a kid who's kind of shooting up. Obviously, he's got all the big offers. So this is a kid that Ohio State would take right now and be absolutely thrilled about. He's definitely one of their priority guys. And he told me, his best relationship right now is with James Laurinaitis. That's his best coaching relationship right now. So, and again, it's another position where the numbers, if you're a 2025 kid, they're going to lose all their top linebackers in the next year or two. There's opportunity there. Looks like Arvell Reese is probably going to be a defensive end. I mean, there's a big numbers gap there at the linebacker position. So they're able to sell these guys. They're going to take at least 3 and 25. And they would love it if he was one of them.
Just looking at the list of 2025 linebackers, and yes, Melendez is 21st overall, and the 247 composite 247 is the one that has him low. They have him as the 31st linebacker. Did have a little bit of an existential crisis when I saw that the guy ranked 2 spots ahead of Melendez in the linebacker list for 25 is Anthony Sacca out of St. Joseph's Prep in Philadelphia. That's, of course, the high school that produced Kyle McCord and Marvin Harrison. But I'm going to wager that Anthony Sacca is probably the son of former Penn State quarterback Tony Sacca, or related in some way. Am I guessing correctly there? Do you know?
Nephew, and he was on campus on Saturday.
Oh, okay.
Look, while we're talking about him, look, I think the smart money is going to be on him going to Penn State, but it does feel like Ohio State might be the one school that's like trying to screw that up for them. We'll see. I'm going to have to kind of see it to believe it on not going to Penn State, but yeah, they got him on campus on Saturday.
All right, I will allow a nephew. Anytime there's a son of, and I remember that guy playing college football who's already playing college football himself. I just get a little bit older. It is rough. Anyway, so something else I did want to talk about. 3 guys who we've seen a lot of this fall. And recruiting, a lot of times we talk about watch what they do, not what they say. And these are 3 guys who are in-state offensive line prospects who we have seen a lot of this fall. Carter Lowe, Max Riley, Sam Greer. I know Carter Lowe, I believe, made a visit to Michigan a few weeks ago, but these are guys who I think Carter Lowe we've seen at least 3 times this fall, maybe more, and Riley and Greer probably about the same. When you see guys making that many visits, that feels like they're at least thinking significantly, leaning maybe towards a certain end point of their process. What are you hearing about those 3 guys? Because those are 3 big-time in-state offensive linemen who would be real strong building blocks for future Ohio State classes.
Yeah, I think the big thing right now, because Greer and Riley are 26s, and I do think Ohio State's in great shape for both of those guys, but they are 26s, so you just kind of have to see, like, okay, how long are they going to go with the process? Or they at least maybe take the spring and go on some more unofficials and things like that. The guy coming out of the weekend that I think they continually made a lot of progress with is Carter Lowe. And this is an Ohio State-Michigan battle. I don't see him going anywhere else. I know like Alabama's gotten involved. Like I know there's some really big programs nationally that are getting involved with Carter, but this to me has always been an Ohio State-Michigan battle. I've always felt like maybe it was Ohio State, let's call it 60-40, even though I hate the percentages game. But I always felt like it was Ohio State's slight advantage ultimately would win out. I think it's much more than that now. I think they've really moved the needle for Carter Lowe here this fall. And I would be very surprised at this point if they don't end up landing him. And quite frankly, I think when you start looking at like, okay, who could be next? I think someone like Carter Lowe or an Eli Lee, the 25 linebacker out of Hoban, who we've seen at Ohio State a million times, who just got his offer a few weeks ago. I think that would be a good starting point if you're looking to handicap who might be next.
Yeah, I saw a picture of Eli Lee on his Twitter account with him standing next to Andy Katzenmoyer on the sideline. It reminded me of the Paris Johnson, Orlando Pace picture from a few years ago when Paris was a recruit. And it was like, oh boy, that is inviting all sorts of irresponsible comparisons. So we'll steer clear of those, but have definitely been keeping an eye on all of this stuff. Mark has been very busy talking to a lot of these.
That was a big deal for Eli. I talked to him about that. I'll have a story. You can read about that on the website. That was a big deal for him, meeting Andy Katzenmoyer.
Yeah, that was Andy Katzenmoyer. I have a picture of Andy Katzenmoyer, which I didn't throw in our gallery because it's slightly out of focus, but it's sort of the Andy Katzenmoyer glare. And even at he's probably in his mid to late 40s now, he's my age. Still, Andy Katzenmoyer still looks pretty intimidating in person. So yeah, I'm sure that was that is a big name in Ohio State football history. So yeah, not surprising that was an exciting thing for Eli. Mark has been very busy talking to a bunch of these guys, covering a bunch of these visits, tracking what potential commitments are on the horizon, and much more. You can find all that information on our huddle board at BuckeyeHuddle.com. A lot of it, Mark will also publish a lot of articles and that kind of stuff. You can find that at the front page at BuckeyeHuddle.com, and of course on our YouTube channel, YouTube.com/BuckeyeHuddle. And then Mark does the Skull Session podcast. If you prefer to listen to podcasts, like we are making this as easy as possible for you. Wherever you want to find the content, it is there. BuckeyeHuddle.com, wherever your podcast platform of choice is, YouTube.com/BuckeyeHuddle. Find it all there. That is true for our team coverage as well. Tony, Kevin, and I covering the Buckeyes as they get ready to head up to Madison to play the Badgers this weekend. And, of course, Ross Fulton on our X's and O's coverage, along with the rest of our X's and O's and scheme team. They do lots of stuff on our huddle board at BuckeyeHuddle.com. So you want to learn, you want to talk football with some of our smart football friends, you can do that on our huddle board if you remember at BuckeyeHuddle.com. That will do it for today. We will be back, I guess, a little later on today with a whole nother episode. Lucky you. What a busy week. We will talk to you a little later on.